Hello, everybody. How are you? It's J Pinkert, mentor and trader and guru at forexstophunters.com. How's everyone doing today? Thanks for showing up and spending your most valuable currency with me today. And that currency is your time, because money comes and goes. Time is gone forever. So as FX traders, we have to know what our most important currency is, correct? And today we're going to talk about looking at your charts a little differently by asking yourself a few different questions than normally most traders do. Okay, and we're going to start off with a quick history lesson. I know that a lot of people are coming back and are starting to follow me week to week, see how some of my forecasts work out, some of my ideas. So what I'll do is a quick review here. Here's a daily. Here's where we were last Wednesday. I talked about the potential of a dollar bounce. I'm looking for a major dollar bottom. RSI diverged again. So we had another non-confirmation, barely held above 30. Maybe even closed a shade underneath it this day. But here we were, I believe this was Wednesday last week. Or this was Wednesday of last week. I was anticipating a bounce, talked about the momentum divergences that we had. This low did not confirm. We had divergence starting on the daily from the beginning of February. It's been diverging for a while, okay, and was negative the dollar, especially when it didn't respond to all the Middle East uprisings, and it just didn't act right. So I was looking for one more flush, and then talked about into the equinox, which was last Saturday, some type of potential reversal taking place. We had that very good day on Friday. So basically this call was correct for this bounce. So there's the first part of the history lesson. Get rid of the Dixie. So we go to cable. And we had this down day. This was last Wednesday. I said it was done. Again, refresh. Everyone see the British pound chart here? Yes. Daily. Now. Okay. Here we were last Wednesday. I said, to me, this action was pretty negative. It looks done. I was talking about stop hunts under this triple bottom. We were here last Wednesday, I believe. Took out these lows, cleaned out a lot of stops, not only from this triple bottom, but also these lows were there, cleaned out as well, and we're beginning to rebound here. So that call was correct too. Same thing last Wednesday. I said to me it looked like Euro was vulnerable. So here we were. Had a negative week. Someone made a good call in the last webinar. They thought that we would see 142 again, which is what we did after the webinar last week, and then had that real negative close. We're holding a rising wedge, and I'll get into that when we move forward of where stop hunts may occur and so forth. But everyone following me, so we've had this bounce in the dollar. Now to me, the dollar looks vulnerable. My best guess is maybe one more shot down in the Dixie. Best guess being maybe after the NFP number. Perhaps the number comes in better than expected. People want to take on more risk. S&Ps are blowing off. And we get one more shot down. But I also think it's very possible that we don't take out these highs, and maybe all we do is trade 41.80 or so. So I am looking for, some type of rally to sell into, going into the NFP. After the NFP, I'd rather react to it, because I believe this rising wedge, what makes me skeptical of the rising wedge is it's making it too convenient. Let's see. It was right to buy it here. Oh, I missed it. Mr. Market, give me another chance to buy this line. Oh, I missed it. I should have done it. Oh, look, I'm being accommodated again. Thank you, Mr. Market. I know I didn't buy here. Thanks for giving me another chance. Oh, I missed it. Oh, look, it took out some of my stops, but it gave me another chance to buy against this line. Now it's starting to eat through the line. Eventually, I think we'll close underneath it on these candles. And I think that we're going to have our last hurrah in Euro. This has, in my view, topped. It's not topping. I'm not saying you can't get retests, but in my view, it's topped. And if you believe in what rising wedges, what their implication is, it's much more bearish than I can get at the moment, but if this is truly a rising wedge, the rule is it retraces 100% of the move. Okay? So eventually I'm looking for a breakdown. We'll see how much lift we have if the Dixie gets challenged again in the low 75s. But I feel it's kind of late to be bearish a dollar, and I'm looking for rallies to sell. Of course, my preferred short would be something that's been weaker, right? There's the daily there. Here's the daily here. So much more directional, took out a previous low. Any kind of fib retracement, I'm going to be looking to short cable into as well. This was about a 470 pip decline into taking out the self stops here. So now you have to ask yourself, where are the stops? Okay? It's only one place I could come up with, that's new highs for the move. Because they got all the stops. They cleaned out the stops here. They cleaned out these stops. You look at the weekly charts. They've got them all. You have to go all the way back to what happened in 2009 to challenge it. Oh, and what a coincidence. Check out this week. This is the weekly chart. Under this week's low, which is where the 21 EMA came in, and if you notice, we have a wedge here. We have a wedge here. What's going on? There's wedges everywhere. What do you think that implies? What are wedges? And I'm not talking about the kind of shoes that people used to wear. I'm not talking about what happens with a relationship at times, that there's a wedge. I'm talking about a rising wedge. It's a reversal formation. And once it takes it out, there could be a pretty good retracement. Anyway, I see a good shot for 155 in cable on the next break, shade above these lows. Look for some type of money wave. This was 1. We're getting 2. I'm looking for 3 to the downside and a breakdown out of a rising wedge in cable as well. And Euro. This one I've been early on. I'm underwater on a long-term position, although I've traded it successfully a few times. I caught a good piece of this 300 pip move. But here we are again, challenging lows. So my thesis right now is cable has peaked. I feel more confident about that than Euro, but I also believe Euro has peaked, right? So Euro's the heaviest weighting in the Dixie. So if I believe these two have peaked, I should probably be friendly the dollar, right? Now, Canada may not have bottomed today. It may be bottoming. Just like Aussie, which surprised me to the upside, may not have topped yet, may have 104.10 in it, 103.85, but we're getting close to where it's going to be interesting to me with these divergences that are happening here, that this is topping. So if I believe that Euro has peaked and is vulnerable to at least a correction, that cable is on the verge of breaking down out of a rising wedge, that yen has bottomed, and we talked about this again last week. It was in here, right? And I said, I don't think we'll see these lows again. I still believe that, and the reason is, here's your big picture. We're ending the month of March here. We have a monthly, some people will call it a pin bar. I think that's a pretty impressive reversal. How about you guys? This is the beginning of, I think, a seminal change where debasement of the Japanese yen is going to happen in a big way. I think that there's at least a bear market rally in here that could take us back to 90 to par to maybe 110. Okay, because I think they're going to have to, this tragic event is going to galvanize them to do whatever they have to do, including debasing their currency. And if I was being paid in yen or held yen-denominated assets, I'd convert them to dollars or something else. Yeah, I don't think cable is going to take out 164, NASCO. Don't think so. I don't think it's going to take interventions anymore. I think that you had, I do believe that what you had here, and I talked about it, was you had a thrust out of a wave 4, okay? And they usually, in fact, we had a webinar, the first Wednesday one I did here. I said, finally, we're going to take out the 79.5 level. I was figuring maybe 78, not 76. Okay. But when you have a triangle like this, thrust down is your terminal thrust. What terminal means, what happens when you're terminal, it's over. That's the last act. And I think that we're on our way up. And people are going to have a hard time buying it because everyone wants to buy a break. And sometimes these markets won't accommodate it until maybe we've had our first leg, maybe up to 85.5 to 87. I had a long time ago thought that we could get back to where we were at the flash crash low. This was it. 87, 97, 88. Could be. Could be a slow crawl. Could be that I can't predict. It could be a moonshot. It could be a V bottom. I mean, when you have this type of seminal event in the market, you still have a lot of people short that are waiting for a place to get out, and the market may not accommodate them. They may just keep squeezing them till their eyeballs pop out. Excuse the graphic metaphor. Okay, so I believe this is bottomed. I talked about potential bottom in Swiss. Okay. You can't rule out maybe one more retest in Swiss, but I don't know, kind of late in the game I day traded it from the short side today because I was looking for some more dollar weakness. So yeah, maybe we could get a retest or at least a deep fib here if I'm right about the dollar coming under attack into or right after the NFP. Best guess is the dollar sells off on the NFP, and I'll be looking to fade that action Friday, Monday, Tuesday. But it's at least bottoming, Okay, I don't see US dollar Swiss, taking out lows and accelerating. A retest of a low, maybe. A fib retracement of this, I think more likely. Okay, so I'm just building the case of how can't the dollar be close to bottoming when you break it down among all these different pairs. Okay, so we have, in my view, topped euro, cable USD, topped, yen, bottomed, which means, right, it's getting weaker against the dollar, so the dollar's rallying against the yen, correct? Swiss, same thing, nice recovery, may get a retest, may get a wave 2 that puts in a higher low as well. And the only really dollar crosses that I follow that may not have completed is Aussie topping, not having topped, and USD CAD bottoming, but maybe not have bottomed. So I covered all of this. Also, still pretty negative gold. Talked about this last week. We have massive daily divergences, weekly. I think that in the second quarter we could sell, if you want to write the number down, 1260 gold. So if the dollar weakens, and the best the gold could do is 1430 or so, and that was today's highs, and we put in a lower high, I think that gold as well is a shorting opportunity. Okay? I think that all I can say is copper. Okay? They call copper, copper has a PhD in economics. And copper to me looks like it's put in a pretty negative day today, didn't it? Let's take a look. And I'll refresh it. It's important enough to look at, I think. If you've had a difficult time trading here lately, don't personalize it. It's been a choppy environment. A lot of people are having that problem. Okay, well, here's the runaway train. S&Ps. On the verge of making new highs here. And we'll pull up a copper chart. I think Rogers is right long term, but everything has cycles. Even commodities. So, can you guys see the copper chart? Let me refresh it. I just caught a glimpse of it. It was pretty negative. Okay. Everyone see that? That doesn't look good to me. S&Ps are making new highs and copper's rolling over. Okay? That's a daily. Here's a weekly. So to me it's saying the risk is going to come off. I mean, why can't copper pull halfway back from the 09 low? Looks ugly to me, right? Sure. China, okay. And people are buying Aussie because of the talk of the reconstruction in Japan. This chart doesn't look like they're going to need a lot of copper, does it? Gold looks heavy, right? And gold was a star. So I think it's risk off, and that includes commodities too. I think it basically what I've seen in currencies, what I'm seeing in commodities, the only thing that doesn't line up is the blow off in the S&Ps. Maybe they just need to make one more high and they'll put in some type of peak. But to me it looks like risk is about to come off, and in a fairly big way. And in that environment, besides being traders, what will become important is not the return on capital, but the return of capital. And I think, to me, that means a flight into the dollar should include a pretty good bond rally and better buying opportunities and things towards the end of the second quarter, maybe into the third. But I think we're going to get a little whiff of deflation. Maybe the catalyst will be Fed coming off QE2, reducing it. They're not going to be able to come off it. Right. That's right. Okay, a shakeout. We could have a shakeout here. Rob, do the right thing today, and tomorrow will take care of itself. You ever hear that one? We don't even have to worry about that. We'll know then. What we want to do is get out of the way of things that could hurt us at a market inflection point, which I believe we're in with the Dixie. And sentiment is telling me that there aren't a lot of people that feel the same way. There's still an awful lot of dollar bearishness. Am I right? Is that correct? And what's interesting to me is, even though we had this reversal week, can you guys see that? Or I need to refresh. Alright? Even though we had this reversal week at important support, and maybe it's going to try and test it, maybe the reversal close, which would be, I don't know, about 50 lower from here. This bounce, this is what they're calling it. All the dollar bears. Dead cat bounce, oversold bounce. No one's even thinking about the possibility that we could be setting up a low for at least maybe something like this, possibly something like this, possibly something like this. It's the last thing people are expecting is a dollar rally. And that's why I'm expecting it. I could be wrong. They start closing under 75, I'll throw in the towel. There's problems. Okay? But there are enough indications to me in the individual pairs, the fact that gold's not making new highs, copper doing what it's doing. Those are important market messages to me. Okay? And I apply even those broader view market messages with what I do here on hourly work, in FX, and so forth. So anyway, I think Jim Rogers is going to be wrong for a while. I think gold's headed down, regardless of whether it has one more shot up or it's a failing rally. Here's Aussie, 4-hour charts. You guys know that I look for divergences. Your best shorts happen when the RSI is under 70. So even if it rallies another 50 and it can't stick, or it comes back first, keep an eye on this divergence in Aussie. And if it keeps making new highs without being able to close over 70, look for your next reversal signal. It's happening on the hourly as well, okay? We've been diverging on the hourly here in Aussie since the 24th. On the 4-hour, this is our first divergence. Daily, we're at new highs, not close, right? This could be your third drive to a top. And remember what I was showing you guys? It's still on the Dixie? Oh my gosh. Okay. We're getting some pretty good divergence in Aussie here. Okay. You guys know that have heard me speak about momentum divergences and turning points, that your best shorts are when the RSI is under 70, too much momentum over it. So here's our first momentum divergence, basically second in the last couple days. The hourly, we have divergence at new highs. Been diverging since March 24th at this peak. So divergences are building. You look at the daily, massive divergence at new highs. We finally took out 102.55. I have wedge lines coming in around, 103.80, 104 up there. I don't think we're going to close over 70. This big picture like this, although it did it differently, is identical to what the yen did inversely, okay? So, image this with one dramatic spike. Let me put up the weekly now. Here, see? Same flat formation, and here's the final spike. Is it going to do what the yen did and go to 108? Maybe. But again, this is a terminal thrust out of a wave 4 triangle, just like we had 2 weeks ago in yen. Okay, wave trader, come hang out in the room. So, again, we have some similar things happening in the markets. We had 2 wave 4 triangles resolved in yen, being resolved in Aussie. Isn't that interesting? Completely unrelated currencies. We have 2 rising wedges, one in euro, rising wedge here in cable. And you know what? You got a rising wedge in Aussie, don't you? It's a rising wedge. Anyway, any questions on anything that I've covered so far? I know I've been jumping around quite a bit. On gold, yen, cable, euro, copper? No. Best guess after the NFP number at the latest Monday, Tuesday, 104. Just a guess. I need to see price action before I execute though. But I do plan ahead. And that's something else I want to stress to everybody, is to do your analysis before you trade instead of on the fly. And you'll find higher probability trades. Also a lesson that I have to tell myself over and over again, that it's okay not to trade. Sometimes the right trade is no trade. And you can see the forest from the trees as a spectator rather than being in at times. Okay? So I think everyone has the drift that I think risk is going to come off. Pick your poison. Looking for a bottom here. Admit I was early, but there have been some nice little bear market rallies along the way that I've been able to trade, but I always keep a little piece on, so underwater there. Bearish here. Let's see if this channel line holds. I doubt it. Maybe we try this area again. I know everyone's looking for this high, 42.80, to be taken out. I don't think so. Could be, but I doubt it. Cable, I'm looking for fib retracements off this break. Kind of a broadening top formation, which would actually allow for another high, but I doubt it. I think cable finds trouble between 130 and 250. And then a lot of trouble under this week's lows because of the key pivot of it holding the 21 EMA. So if you just did some simple arithmetic and took last week's highs, here's something else I want to tell you. Everyone wants to learn what the secret is in FX trading. You guys want to know what it is? The secret is, there is no secret. Mike, that's the secret. It's hard work. It's a lot of time. You can't be lazy. But you know what? You could use simple arithmetic. How about subtraction to come up with a target for cable USD? Okay? Here's your high. Let's call it 64 even, right? Here's your low that we're getting some type of reflex rally out of, right? So that would be, let's call it 464 pips from here to here. So once we take out this low, subtract 464. And that gives you 154.70. Right around in here. 154.70. And then if you want to get real complex, you start using fibs, and then you're talking about multiplication and division. So the secret to FX trading is it's just hard work and being passionate to stick with it and really getting control of your emotions and finding a few things that work. Anybody here likes options? What's that, Bill? Okay. But there might be, okay, that's possible. But maybe we see 80 first. 80, 81. Is that possible? Okay. And Bill is asking if options are a good tool. They're a good tool for option writers, not usually for option buyers. In my more cynical days, I had an expression that options were like relationships. 90% of them expired worthless. Okay, I can open it up to questions. I'm getting ready to wrap it up here. At least someone got it. Huh? But it's still worth seeking those 10%, right? Because those become your lifelong friends. They can be home run balls, right? I've had some home run balls in buying options before at the right time. Your timing has to be impeccable. And you're always better off buying more time and having less leverage to give yourself a bigger time window for your scenario to unfold. Because normally things take longer than we think they're going to take. And that's even if you're used to hitting things on the button when you're looking for intermediate term swing moves, right? So I run a trading room. It's a collaborative environment. A lot of good traders in there. People bring their ideas to the table. It's not me just saying stand up, sit down, buy here, sell there. I do put out my ideas, and you can see what I'm talking about happen in real time. That's what separates the men from the mice, is what happens in the heat of action when you're in the arena. Hourly, Coco, hourly. I scalp off hourlies. So it looks like cable's going to cooperate and give a nice sell zone. I took a long side scalp but got out early because I wasn't sure until today, and I'm still not sure how much weakness we're going to have into the NFP, but I was thinking about it, and I'll be writing a piece. I think it's, I let my members do the speaking for me on that, and a lot of reviews on different forums are there about how they've done. It's not a signal service. I really consider what I provide as a very good analysis. My people are non-duplicators. I encourage them to trade their plan and manage the trade their way. They may have a different stop than me. They may not take the trade. No, I don't use the SAR. The only thing I use it for is I like to see SARs taken out. Sometimes it gives me an objective the other way. But I don't use anything for triggers. Okay? I'm a formation type trader. I do a lot of correlation work. So I like to short the relative weakness by the relative strength. That's something else I've taught here in this forum. That's what I just demonstrated here, is that the relative weakness is cable over euro. Cable to me is demonstrated more weakness. Look at this was impulsive to me. There wasn't a breather. Look at that decline compared to that decline. All right? This does feel a little bit more corrective, doesn't it? This same time frame. Let alone the monthly. I mean, in 2008, we took out the 2000 low, if you want to get macro. Okay, Carlos. Yeah, first month is half off. Look at the difference in the monthlies. I mean, euro could go to, 115 and be corrective. But if that happens to euro, you're going to be looking at 130 cable. Yeah, I know it's weird. It's a kinky currency, NASCO. Good surprise. What's interesting is this 21 EMA on the monthly, I just noticed that. You're right. And I was short from 160. Didn't sell more up there. Took out the buy stops before the sell stops. But I did ride it back down. And you're right. I was short in here. Here's a news flash. I am wrong in the markets. I miss trades in the market. I'm just like you guys. Is that a news flash? And not all of my forecasts work? No, it's fine. Not this, I know. I could be wrong about this too. Let me ask you this though, Donkey, really. You've been to some of my webinars, haven't you? When have you acknowledged I've been right? When have you acknowledged I've been right? And you've seen some very good calls, correct? Okay. So what do you think it is about your nature that you would want to call me on something I'm wrong and not acknowledge something that I was right about quite frequently over the last several months? Okay. I'm just saying, look, I understand the public. Okay. Well, I'm just curious about that. We all have to hold up the mirror. Okay, well anyway, I'm going to be looking to sell fib retracements and cable. I might be wrong. I might sell it up here and it might go to 170. But those are the shots I'm going to take. Any other questions? Okay, Donkey. I know how the world is. Half the world doesn't care about your troubles. The other half are glad you have them. Any other questions on, okay, Carlos. Then I'll leave you with what I tell people all the time. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Plant good seed and you'll reap a good harvest. Try and help people, even though it's difficult to be in the public forum. And you've gone through pain at times to learn what you've learned to be a good trader. Share it with people and help other people, and it'll come back to you tenfold. And that's my intent here. Hope that besides trades being right or wrong, my mission here when I'm bringing up ideas is for you guys to learn different ways to look at the market and view the market, give you some tools that you could put in your trader's tool chest and use it the rest of your trading lifetime. Okay, everyone? Good luck the rest of the week. Remember, don't carry big positions into the NFP. That's more like roulette than trading. You could react to it, but don't bet on it. All right, good night. Thanks, NASCO. Donkey, take care. Cappy, Fernando, Wave Trader. Okay. Coco. Thank you, Matthias, for recording this. And I believe Avenda for recording this and Matthias for moderating this. I'll see you all next week.